All right. I think we're ready to start now. If somebody wants
Motion to open meeting?
all in favor of opening the meeting?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right. And as I mentioned, I actually have a sign-up sheet here if anybody wants to make a public comment. I know some of you are virtual, so you can't sign up. But we do have public comment at the end. If you want to make a public comment, we just would appreciate if you say your name, which we seem to have here, on your video, and also just say your precinct, so that we just have a record of that for clarification purposes. All right. I just hold on one second here. Make sure my phone is off.
Sorry
All right.
about that.
Just wanted to make some opening remarks about public comment at our last meeting, which has been a month. It was February 26th. We had some public comment at that meeting. Kind of taking those comments in reverse order, there was a comment about the article regarding plastic bottles. I want to be clear that that is a citizen petition. That it has nothing to do with the Climate Action Plan Committee. The other comment was made concerning safety concerns with respect to EV batteries. And just my comment would be, safety concerns, duly noted. Certainly safety concerns would be something that we would want to talk about with. Should we be able to engage a professional engineering consultant and address safety concerns, certainly that the public might raise or that otherwise might seem to make sense to be included in the Climate Action Plan. And then the first statement that was made at public comment was made by Jonna Kennick, who said something to the effect, also goes by Jonna Rosenblatt, just so you know. But I think Kennick is the name that I've seen her use as well. She made reference to a word on the street is something. There's a rumor that something and something, that you're doing something. And when asked about the source of that information, she admitted that, in fact, she was the source of the information, which has no basis in fact. So I want that to be clear. I'd also want to say, if people want to know what we've been talking about, what we've been considering, I think except for our first few meetings, all of our meetings are recorded on SMAC. All of our minutes are posted with the town clerk, so feel free to reference those if you want to see what the committee has been discussing. And then I also want to say that we do not police social media. Thank goodness we live in a democracy. We have First Amendment rights. Anybody can put anything they want within certain legal limits on social media. We honestly don't have time to police that. We don't have time to engage in that. So I would hope that if people are concerned about what this committee is doing, certainly they're welcome to attend our meetings. They're welcome to actually look at the facts of what's happening in our meetings. And of course, we'll certainly be discussing our activities at town meeting as well. So I just wanted to make all that clear. All right, so the second item on our agenda is the review of minutes that Michael has prepared. So I did have a couple of sort of typo comments and a couple of substantive comments, but let me let other people go first, maybe starting with the people who are joining with the committee members who are joining us virtually. If you have any comments on the minutes. And just take, if you're just looking at them now, please take your time. Do not need to rush anybody. Happy to wait for a few minutes.
And I was not here for that meeting.
Okay.
Did Paul Jafumi ever come back to us about the plan and what had been done?
No, I mean, not in the last month. No, he hasn't gotten back to us, no.
Okay. We should follow up with him.
With Paul Jaffoon is who you're referring to, the DPW superintendent? Right.
Thank you.
All right.
I can't pronounce anything.
That's okay. Any comments before I get to my comments on the minutes?
I don't remember saying that I would revise interim recommendations by March 25th. I could be wrong, but I don't remember committing to that date.
Okay, do you want to suggest a revision to the minutes then that you feel is more accurate about that statement?
I can't remember exactly what I said.
Do you just want to take out the time frame?
Yeah, time pressure, yes.
Okay.
That I will look through. I have the big master doc of revisions, yes.
All right. Any other thoughts?
Nope, otherwise that's good.
James, any thoughts?
I don't have anything to offer. I haven't read the minutes. I'm trying to put my hands on.
Do you want to come back to that later in the meeting then?
Sure.
Okay, all right, so we'll just table that. Is that okay if we just table that for now? And if somebody, I'm going to write it down at the end.
We have the interim recommendations are the latest draft I have are as of January 8th, 2024.
All right, so I'm going to make a note of that. All right, last interim recs, okay. All right, so we'll just table them. Actually, why don't I just go over what my thoughts were on the minutes? Maybe that would be helpful, and then we'll circle back to James if he has other. So on page 1, you're referencing at the bottom, second paragraph from the bottom, the number of the Green Communities grants, and I think you're just missing a 0, so it's 200,000. There's just a 0 typo missing.
What
And-
do I have on there?
Yeah, you have 2 you have a comma and 2 zeros, you mean 3 zeros. It's just a typo, there's one, you'll see that
Okay,
there's
okay.
1 0, because they typically get $200,000 a year, so, and that's what that's supposed to be.
200,000,
All right.
000.
So if you go to page 2 in the middle of the paragraph, and this is talking about Mr. Jaffoon, it says in regard to solid waste, and you have a reference to 7,200 truck customers. I think just the word "are" missing, that there are 7,200 truck customers. Looks like just that. And then about 1, 2, 3 lines later, you have the word "hat," and you mean that, some areas. I can hand these to you, Michael, and show you the typos. And so Rachel was going to take out that deadline of, suggest taking out the deadline of March 25th. And then on the public comment, I just wanted to make a clarification on page 3. I think it's clear if we use Jonna Kennick, Kennick, and then you could say have AKA Rosenblatt, because my understanding is both names have been used, but the Kennick name is the one I've seen as the official name. And Laura, you're on FinCom. You would agree that that is the name that,
She uses Rosenblatt.
oh, she uses Rosenblatt, because I've
Yeah.
seen her name on a petition where she uses Kennick.
Yeah, yeah, so maybe having both.
So AKA is what we
Yeah.
lawyers
What
do.
did she used in the meeting? Was it Kennick?
We didn't,
She doesn't.
I did not take names, and I didn't ask. I mean,
Okay.
we're familiar with Jonna. She's come to a number of meetings. So I would use both names. And then, I don't know about the second statement. I mean, obviously, the minutes are, I think, accurately report what she said was the word on the street. And then the second statement, I don't remember her. She further stated that this matter has been brought up at previous CAP meetings, but that's your memory that she said that. Okay. I just wanted to add, when asked, Ms. Kinnick stated that she herself was the source of the so-called rumor. Because Michael asked her, what is the source of your information? And she said, me. So I think it's important for the minutes to
Does it
reflect.
read right now?
Well, you don't, that statement's just not there. So it's just an added statement that I would add after you recount what she said the rumor was. I would add, when asked, what the Ms. Kinnick stated that she herself was the source of the rumor.
Okay.
And then the next sentence in the public comment, and this is just one word, says, another resident inquired about CAP's intention to get rid of single-use plastic bottles. I think that should be alleged intention, because I think that was based on a misunderstanding as to who had created the article regarding plastic bottles.
Yeah.
And then there's just a motion to adjourn. The word seconded there's just a typo on that. If it helps, I can have you look at these at any time. Okay, thank you. And again, thank you for doing the minutes. I honestly, when a whole month goes by, if we didn't have minutes, it'd be really hard to pick up, the page where we were. So thanks so much. All right, on to item number 3, which I think is a great item. I'm happy to say we do have an appearance booked on SMAC on May 11th at 11 a.m. And Joe Feaster, who is a wonderful, actually longtime host and interviewer on SMAC, will be interviewing members of the Climate Action Plan Committee. I think it's a great opportunity to, sort of promote what, climate action is all about, and what about our specific task is, and what our climate action plan might look at, and hopefully dispel, quite frankly, any disinformation is out there. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm not sure, I'm presuming that's like an hour-long show. I would like if between 2 and 4 people would participate. And that doesn't necessarily have to be me, but I'm happy to be there. Quite frankly, I'll go there anyways. But, exactly. No, I'm happy, and I think Laura's made herself available. So I think that would be terrific. And again, an opportunity to have I would say with Mr. Feaster, a really intelligent discussion about climate change and about, what the purpose of the committee and what we're hoping to achieve. So I think that's a great step forward on that.
Is there a confirmed date for it and time?
Yes. So it's May 11th, Saturday, May 11th, at the SMAC Studios, which are really cool, actually. You'll be very impressed by those studios. And at 11 o'clock, obviously, we should probably show up at 10:30 or so. I've been in touch with Anya, who is the executive director of SMAC, and she seems to be, quite welcoming of programming along these lines. She may have audience members who ask questions as well, or I don't know how she'll arrange it, but that's up to her, and certainly we're happy to do that and to have those conversations. So that's a step in the right direction as far as our community engagement efforts there. All right. And the next is actually a significant piece of updated information resulting from a conversation with the Carolyn from the Executive Office of Energy. It's the Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs, EEA. And Michael, I think you were on that call. This was a virtual meeting. Michael, if you want to report it or I can report it, you're busy taking notes. All right. So that's why I'm talking all the time. So Pam McCarthy, who has been very gracious and very helpful and sort of very much in touch with us as far as our pursuit of grants, reached out to Carolyn of the EEA. We were going to have an in-person meeting, but they ended up having a virtual meeting. And she, basically cut right to the chase, which is that EEA is not doing planning grants. End of story. They're doing these so-called action grants, which were of interest, and that might be of interest in the future. They are not doing planning grants. So if you will recall, our message from MAPC, who we're still waiting if they're going to give us any help at all, was clearly signaling that it's going to give very limited help. And they said, go to EEA and get a grant. So that's why Pam and I have been sort of following, because obviously, grant application information, I don't even know the terminology, is released on a certain date, then you have X number of days to put in your application. So I know Pam was following that for us. She arranged this call. So we have a clear answer, I guess, which give us a little bit of clarity for purposes of town meeting with respect to the article that we voted on. I think it was back in January, with respect to seeking funding to hire an engineering consultant to assist us with this. Does anybody have any questions about the grants update before we move on to the next agenda item?
Was there a timeline? Was there a timeline associated with how long they're not doing the planning grants?
there was a 2 years something which may even have been associated with even the action grants for the town. I remember hearing this 2-year thing.
Yeah, she made it sound like it was a ways down the road. I
Okay.
can tell you that.
All right.
I don't remember if it was exactly 2, but it's just like a couple of years from now, we might get around to. So,
Right.
Okay.
So, I guess maybe timing a little bit off. Our friends in Canton have the EEA grant, but we don't have the EEO grants. So that sort of leads us, if we're ready to move on to item number 5 on the agenda, which is Article 44, and appearance before town committees. So it kind of worked out that we skipped a week because I have been busy meeting before committees and like to just update you on that. So obviously, or not so obviously, I've been a town meeting member for a while, but if you present an article to town meeting, the moderator at his discretion, and for some reason, I like technically don't understand why, will suggest that you present your article to certain of the, whatever, there are maybe 10 different town committees.
Yeah, the Rules Committee decides which
okay.
committees review each article.
Okay, so there's a process, which Laura knows about more than me. So I first appeared early in March before I believe it was the Intergovernmental Relations meeting, which was right in this room and went on for a very, very, very long time. And I got up towards the end. It was very informational. I got up towards the end, and it was so late I didn't want to, quite frankly, try people's patience. And I did not do a PowerPoint. I just summarized a few points about, about where we were with grants and why we felt, we needed a consultant and, who else is doing climate action plans. I did a presentation. There were no questions to my memory. And then I was gone and I left, and I don't have the vote yet. I don't know. I'm sure for that committee they voted on everything because that was 3 weeks ago, but I don't have the vote yet to share with you. Then I believe it was on Thursday, March 14th, I appeared before FinCom. Again, obviously there were a lot of things going on with FinCom, some heated debate before I got there on an issue. It was probably something I didn't understand. But I was able to, again, didn't do a PowerPoint and trying not to, take up too much time, explain how we got to the point where, we're not going to get grant funding. Here's why we really need the professional engineering consultant. Answered a lot of questions. It felt for like maybe 40 to 45 minutes. I will say that there was some good questions, and I would even say some good questions that will help us explain where we're coming from to town meeting, right? For example, somebody asked about, is this going to be mandatory? Somebody asked about, will there be a cost benefit analysis? Or I was like, yeah, that's actually a great idea. The more we can do cost benefit, which fits more easily with some things than others. But yes, that's the kind of thing an engineer can do really well, I think, is they can project various things that's sort of within their wheelhouse. And there was some hostility and some people who don't believe in climate change. So that's all part of the package. Like I say, it was an exercise to go through, but I think it was, helpful to know the various viewpoints that people will have so that we can hopefully address those viewpoints and, meet people where they're at with respect to these issues and obviously their financial concerns, which are 100% valid at any point in time. And I hope that, certainly want to send the message that we acknowledge that. So that's where, and I did finally look up when town meeting starts, and it starts on Monday, May 6th. It's going to be Mondays and Wednesdays and Mondays and Wednesdays. So we're probably going to miss at least one meeting, although we could always we can figure out when we get later into April if we want to have a meeting on a different night. We'll just sort of see what our thought, the committee's thoughts and needs are. But for those of us who are on town meeting, which is a few of us, that's a big time commitment, both that Monday and Wednesday. And there's a lot of really interesting and maybe critical articles. One thing that just jumps to mind that I think is quite interesting I think it's a pretty substantial senior housing development. And I'm sure there will be a lot of time will be invested in that. A lot of questions will arise because of that. So that's one of the more interesting ones. There's also a special town meeting within the town meeting that the main focus is going to be on the South School, which is obviously they're consolidating some of the elementary schools, but this, it's going to be an expensive new school because new schools are expensive, and we all know construction costs are quite high.
One thing, just
because I was in the finance committee when the senior housing project came up, excuse me, is they're really putting a focus on that being a green building. And they talked a lot about the different things that they're doing to make sure that that's meeting kind of this high standard of I forget the term that they use.
LEED, or is it LEED, or is it something else?
Oh, I can't
Probably a
remember.
different terminology. these
Yeah,
days. Okay.
but just a lot of focus on that, and that the only thing I think they said that was going to be based on the hot water, I think, was the only thing, or heat or something like that was the only thing that wasn't exactly the best way of doing it, but it was like one piece of many, many pieces that they were very proud of, how they're planning that
Okay.
building to be, environmentally responsible. So it was a really nice presentation.
Good,
Yeah.
good. So look forward to that. Any other questions before so that was number 5 about our town committee appearances again and getting ready for town meeting. And sure, Michael.
In regard to the special, that other article that's been added to the special is going to be up in front of municipal regs on Monday.
Okay.
I don't know if everybody's aware of that or not.
No. Thank you. All right. So, discussions with other towns. I guess we need to continue, engaging with discussions with other towns, whether that's talking to sustainability coordinators or talking to people who are in the planning process. I think at the top of my list is I would like to check in with Canton, who again did get an EEA grant. I think they started their meetings much later than we started our meetings, but they also have a larger group. So I would just like to check in with them and where they're at and what is EEA. Obviously, EEA actually, to clarify, gives the town money and they go hire an engineer. So I'd be curious to find out what's going on with Canton. What engineer have they hired? What is the engineer doing? Anything you can share with us? We'd love to share information. But we also, if anybody hears of other towns who are still in the planning process, or other information we might want to gather from sustainability coordinators, obviously, that's good to keep information flowing and to move ahead with those. All right. So I was going to move on to interim recommendations, and before we get to the meat of that, I actually just wanted to say my thoughts now, given having appeared before FinCom, we're going to obviously be having probably a long discussion at a town meeting with a whole bunch of different town meeting people coming forward and telling us sort of, again, where they're at, what they're thinking, what their concerns are, what their hopes are actually for a climate action plan. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking that obviously we want to continue to think about and refine interim recommendations, but I don't think that I want to determine what those are and have an official vote on it until we go through the town meeting process and see what kind of feedback we get, quite frankly, on issues. So that's my thought. And clearly, I think probably you, like me, like you're paying attention to what's going on in the towns. You're paying attention to locally what's happening, in the state. Paying attention to what you're hearing is happening globally as well. And I think all that can inform, where we end up with our interim recommendations. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. It's okay. All right. All right. So I don't. Sorry, Laura had to leave the meeting. All right. Any other thoughts about that? Does that kind of make sense to everybody that, we will sort of pin that down and hone in on that and have that for a vote at the end of May after those of us who are at town meeting can sort of come back and report to everybody what was going on at town meeting. Does that make sense? Rachel, you good with that?
Yeah.
Okay. All righty. And then I have been thinking, and again, May is going to be a busy month, but maybe we or I can fit something in April, is just, touching base with some other committees whose scope of activities might overlap with our activities, or might be informed by, climate action one way or the other. It was obviously hopeful to hear that the senior housing planning, as planned, is going to be planned as a building with sustainability in mind. I feel like a couple of the committees that come to mind are the Planning Board and Redevelopment Authority. I actually was going to ask Michael if he knows, like, what would you describe as the, if you know, because I know you've been on Conservation Commission, which is different, but whether you can sort of describe what the Planning Board really engages in, and also, like, I don't even know who the current chair is. You don't? You don't?
Never sat in a planning board meeting.
Okay. All right.
I have a recommendation.
Okay, great.
I think the Conservation Commission and the Board of Health are important committees that have been left out. I'm not
Okay.
sure whether Redevelopment Authority needs to be prioritized.
Okay.
Planning Board, I agree. Town planner has experience with respect to grants. I know that he had worked in the town of Taunton and was responsible, instrumental in helping them get a grant with respect to electrical fueling stations at a project on Ware Street in Taunton. So I would just like to offer that. I think it would be good to coordinate with Bill Roth and ask him more about that and see what he would recommend in order to get us on that boat. And of course, the Conservation Commission, very important too, with respect to their authority with respect to regulating proper stewardship of wetlands and the important values and functions of wetlands in order to promote and educate the public with respect to the importance of maintaining wetlands on the landscape and what their values and functions are. For instance, with respect to attenuation of flood waters and desynchronization during storms, trapping of sediment, retention of detoxifying sediments and nutrients on the landscape, visual quality, educational potential. Those are all items. Fisheries, wildlife habitat, all types of wetland-associated recreation. Those are all important things to talk about in a public forum and to help educate the public as to why these resources are important, regulated, and worth protecting and preserving, as opposed to, degrading wetlands at the expense of development and so forth. So that's one thing I can say with the Conservation Commission. Of course, the Planning and the Board of Health also has important concerns that overlap with the mission of this committee as well. Anything that's involved with preserving and protecting the public health from emission control, air emissions, the anti-idling law, anything that you can think of, water resource management, drinking water, protection, all of these things, upgrading septic systems. There's so many different things that I think the Board of Health and the Conservation Commission would have that are in common with the mission of this community. So I don't think they should be left out. Those are just some of my comments. If you have any questions that might, I could help clarify anything that I was speaking of.
James, that's excellent, and I had forgotten the Board of Health. And I'm happy to sort of go with your sense of the priorities there, and reach out to the Board of Health and Planning Board. I think ideally for us, we'd maybe like somebody to come to our meeting and talk to all of us. That would be offer one, and if that doesn't work and they want one of us to come to their meeting, I guess that would be one or two of us, obviously, and maybe more if it could be virtual or hybrid, could come to their meeting. So I think it's on me then to sort of figure out Bill Roth is easy, so he's the obvious person for the planning board, it sounds like. And then the Board of Health, I can sort of look up who that is. And so I'm happy to sort of prioritize those two committees and commissions as somebody we should be in conversation with.
Oh, sure. I could recommend to speak with Lawrence Perry, the health agent, and also the chairman of the Board of Health, Andrew Gibb. He would be a very important person to talk about. He works for the State Department of Public Health, actually. I think he'd be a very good resource.
Okay.
And reach out to him, Molly. I bet he's on the pulse of everything this committee's doing. He'd be very good to speak to.
Excellent.
Andrew Tibbs, I said Tibbs. Andrew Tibbs, excuse me.
And how do you?
I could help you with them.
Yeah, if you actually could just send me his email, that would be terrific. That would sort of trigger my following up and trying to either, again, see if he's available to come to virtually one of our meetings or vice versa, which I guess is really the beauty of being able to do virtually. I think it's much less onerous and much more doable for people to join us. But definitely like to have that conversation. And it does seem to me that we don't want to lose sight of, and certainly want to be able to share with the community, that part of our mission statement is about being prepared for, challenging or extreme weather events. And I think that sort of may, tie into the Board of Health, certainly, with respect to, you can think of any type of extreme weather event that you've seen happen across the world in the last few years. Heat waves that are very dangerous, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I would be curious as to what they're thinking about and whether we can make sure we incorporate into our report some of their concerns, some of their thoughts about that as well. So I think this is a good move in the right direction if we contact some of these. And I will just put the redevelopment authority on hold, although I have to say no, it wasn't the redevelopment authority. It was CPS who was presenting the senior housing project. So I was getting those two confused. So, all right. We'll put that on hold then. And the other part of the community, which I think I should probably circle back to, maybe Pam could help me with it, is the businesses in the community. And obviously we have the small businesses, we have the restaurants, we have this, we have that, and then we have some pretty big businesses in the community like our friends Stop and Shop, et cetera, et cetera. It would be nice to have, some kind of business, meeting or discussion or whatever, maybe, sharing of information, because they're a big part of the picture of the operation of our community and of the greenhouse gas emissions, et cetera, et cetera. So I actually had written to, I believe, both through the website, the Chamber of Commerce and the Rotary Club, and did not get responses. But I feel like maybe Pam knows how to get in contact with those organizations.
Molly, I have something to offer.
Okay.
Pam is the municipal liaison to businesses in the community. She would be a good person to talk to.
All righty.
Those lines. In fact, I know you have experience with her and grants, but no, her main job is to interact with businesses in the town and economic development. She's the economic development coordinator. So I would advise you speak with Pam about that.
All righty. All right, that's great. I will do that. So that's the plan going forward. And again, hopefully I can start making some contact in April. Maybe we can even get one of these individuals to come to one of our April meetings. So that's terrific. Any other ideas before we move on to number 9, which is other business that cannot be anticipated? Okay, so number 9, the only thing I have to share there is I got an email from our advisory member, Kathy Stanley, to me and to Nathan on the Sustainability Committee. She is applying for, with the town, on behalf of the town, a I'll probably get the name wrong, America's Schools Grant comes to mind. So it's a federal grant that could provide for potentially up to all the cost of electrifying the Wilkins School. So the Wilkins School is the one who's the focus because of the current status of the heating system. That's the one that Kathy's been talking about for a while. Like that would be the target school to get off of fossil fuels.
Sorry, Molly, can you repeat that?
Yeah, so the America's Schools Grant, a federal grant, and Kathy has focused on the Wilkins School as being the school that the town should prioritize to try to move off of fossil fuels and electrify the school, because apparently it's the one with whatever the worst current heating system. But anyway, so with her expert criteria, and again, this is why experts are great in this field, she is focused on that school. So her email to me and Nathan, interestingly, was about discussing as part of the grant, having partners in the community, and even having us either participate in the narration or some parts of the grant application. So I think this comes back to, and obviously, we don't need to make a decision today. I'll just sort of follow up with her. Maybe we'll have a formal vote that we want to support the grant. So I'll make myself a note to try to put that on the agenda for next time. But my point, this sort of resonates with the point I was trying to make at FinCom. Having a climate action plan committee and having a climate action plan, I think, is helpful to putting the town in competitive positions for qualifying for grants. And I think that dissolving a climate action plan committee is not really going to look very good, because it's going to show to grant providers, because it is going to show that in fact this town is not committed to addressing the challenges of climate change. So interestingly enough, I had made that point at FinCom, and then a week or so later, Kathy Stanley is saying, "Oh, we need to talk about our partners in the community who are on board with sustainability," and she is reaching out to our committee. So I think again, what we're doing as a town matters. Where we are on this issue as a town matters. And quite frankly, because we've been designated a green community several years ago, we've gotten either $250,000 or $200,000 for years and years and years, and I don't know if it's 7 years or 9 years from the state to go around doing all sorts of, terrific energy efficiency things. And, that's just step one in all the changes that we need to make. But putting our best foot forward as a town is, really committing to showing that, we understand the challenges, we want to work hard to meet the challenges, and we're united as a town to, sort of take action in smart directions that's going to, put us in a good position to continue to get hopefully state grants and also federal grants, which of course are very competitive. But, Kathy Stanley knows what she's doing, and I think she will do a great job, assisted very much by the town in putting in that grant application. And we'd of course be, quite excited if we were able to get that for that school. So that was the new information. And then I don't have anybody who signed up who's present physically for public comment. There's a couple people, Stacy French, Kayla Sonafeth, and I apologize, I mispronounced your last name, and then Liliana Branco. Do any of you want to make a comment before we close or take a motion to close the meeting? Stacy, I think you said yes. I don't know, are you on mute? I think you can go ahead and speak. It actually was Kayla who I think I saw some response. You're on mute.
I saw Stacy French.
Yes, I think the thumbs up showed in front of Kayla's screen for some reason.
Yeah, I saw it from Stacy French.
All right,
So my name is.
Oh, sure, go ahead, Stacy. Go ahead, Stacy. And again, just so you know, public comment. Obviously, we invite people to watch the meetings and make public comment. We usually don't answer questions. It's usually not a back and forth, but you can go ahead and share with us your thoughts.
That's fine. I just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Stacy French, and I am an English teacher at Stoughton High School. And along with Jennifer Pelly, I am now co-advising the recycling club at Stoughton High School, and Kayla is actually a student officer in the club. And so we met today and we wanted to make sure that we are a presence in the meetings, and we look forward to collaborating with the committee going forward.
Thank you very much and welcome to all three of you. And I will, make sure, if I know that I have Liliana's email, I'll make sure that she gets the agenda, for the next meeting, because we certainly want to encourage our students to know what's going on and participate to the extent that they can participate. We'd be very happy with that. So thank you, and thank you for watching. So I think we're at the end of our agenda, and under the formal rules that control what we do, we are going to, if somebody would like to make a motion to conclude the meeting.
Motion to adjourn?
No, before that, Michael, I'd like to say something.
Sure.
Molly did an excellent job at the Finance Committee meeting. She made a great presentation to talk about the merit of our committee and paid everyone on the committee very high compliments. Hardworking committee, dedicated to the cause of climate change. I was very, very much impressed. She did a great job. There was some adversarial testimony, and then there was some positive testimony. But I would listen to that meeting and see what a good job she did on behalf of this committee and promoting the mission of this committee. I just wanted to say that to everyone.
Very kind of you, James. All right. So Michael made a motion to adjourn. Any seconds? Right.
I second.
Okay. All in favor of adjourning the meeting?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Good to meet the people from recycling.
Yes,
Recycling
wonderful.
Club.
And so now we can
Thank
all go home and watch the women's NCAA, right? Okay. Everybody enjoy their evening. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks. Good night, everyone.
I read it.